Busting Loose from the Business Game by Robert Scheinfeld. It's the goofiest book cover I've ever seen, but I tell you what, it's got some incredible insights and some valuable philosophy, I think. Um, Scheinfeld's an interesting guy. He put together a book, and there's not a lot of reviews out there, and I'm not sure why, but he put together a book that has a lot of philosophy in it: Buddhist philosophy, consciousness, quantum physics, and he talks about busting loose from the business game, how you can achieve happiness, abundance, and so forth from this crazy game that we play, this cycle that repeats itself over and over and over again. You know, we get to the point where we get all these possessions, these luxuries, these cars, these homes, these clothing, these trips, but yet we're still unfulfilled, we're unhappy. Um, and so there's a way that we can get to that point where we actually bust loose and we become free. Are we willing to be free or continue to suffer? And I think that's one of the messages that he brings across in the book. There's quite a discussion on consciousness, that really what we think is the outside world um, are all just illusions, that matter doesn't exist. It's consciousness that creates matter, not the other way around. A lot of folks think matter creates consciousness, but you can't have matter, things, rings, bodies, people, places, cars without consciousness. And so you learn about the creation, the true creative process, which is absolutely eye-opening. I've read the book probably 10 times. Each time I read it, I get more and more out of it. He has a different style of writing. I would consider it very high schoolish, but very layman as well. And I appreciate that. I think the philosophy is very deep. The language is very shallow um, in terms of fanciness. But I don't think that's his intent, or the intent of his expanded self as he read the book. Um, there's another part that helps us reclaim our power or acknowledge our power from these creations that we've created. You know, we create everything in our lives, whether it's negative or positive. And if we can create something negative that brings us some sort of unease or an emotional charge, some discomfort, we can acknowledge that power and bring it back into our life, um, so that we can feel that intuition. We can get back to our natural state. And I think that's the key. This book is all about helping us get back to our natural state. And don't let the title um, throw you off. It's a goofy title, it's a goofy front page, but there's a lot of gold nuggets here. Um, Especially if you've looked at the law of attraction, you've listened to Abraham or Bashar or any channeling folks. There's quite a bit of good information and some information that will reinforce what you already know. But the fact of the matter is this: we are not separate. We create everything. We create everything in our consciousness. And our consciousness is being directed by what's called our expanded self. I like to call this type of perspective my higher self, which is basically allowing us opportunities in this life to acknowledge our power, whether good or bad. Um, and as you read this book, you'll have a good understanding of what that means. Um, it's like going on a roller coaster ride, and he talks about this in the book, where you get on just for the fun of it. You didn't design the ride, you don't control the ride, but you absolutely feel the ride. And I think that's the key here. So if you get a moment and you want to know more about consciousness, you want to know more about creating a reality that might include abundant living, but more importantly, a happiness, a way to get through life that you feel liberated and free. It's very Buddhist in the sense that, and I think he's probably very Buddhist in his philosophy. But you know, when we stop wanting and craving things, then we stop suffering. And that's my review of Busting Loose.